It's good to see some familiar faces and good to see you guys this morning. And just to catch up to speed before we dive right in this morning, for the last few weeks, we've been sharing about friendships. And we've been talking about social media and friending and the benefits of social media and also some of the negative aspects that's affecting not only our church but our culture and our society. And we spent some time digesting that and talking about friends. And one common theme that we've had throughout the message series is show me your friends and I will show you your future. Show me your friends, and I will show you your future. And we talked about how studies have proven that we're an average of our friends, that if you were to list your 5 closest friends, that you would fall in the average of those friends and how those friends influence us. And we use the proverb of chapter 13, verse 20. It says this: walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. And we were talking about how if we hang out with those who are passionate, typically we would be passionate. If we hung out with people who are hardworking, typically we would be hardworking. If we hung out with people that are filled with faith and mindset, like-minded people that are set on changing the world and doing great things, that more than likely we would be on fire and have our face set and our minds focused on changing the world and being on fire. But yet the same is true if we hang around friends that are lazy. Chances are we could become lazy. If we hang around critical people with critical spirits, with negative attitudes, suddenly we can adopt, and it can be contagious, and become critical and have bad attitudes and have a hardened heart. If we hang around people who are self-centered, self-serving, typically it can be contagious. For that's what the proverb says, that walk with the wise, become wise. Walk with for those who have companions of fools suffers harm. And we talked about 3 types of poverty. You guys remember that last week? That there's 3 types of poverty that they said we can experience. The one is, first is material poverty. And what's ironic is we live in a culture where we are materially blessed. Point in fact, last week we did a free yard sale where we gave everything away, and I asked the church for donations. I said, go through your stuff and bring it in to the church, and we're just going to bless people to build bridges in the community, and we're going to give it away. And it was a huge success. We had a lot of people come in and take a lot of stuff out of here, but I also had to take an entire van packed. Brad ain't here. He's in the back. If Brad was in the back, Jeremy was my witness. That thing was packed from floor to ceiling, and I don't know how many tons we gave away. I mean, we gave away stuff for 4 hours straight, and people just kept coming and going and coming and going, taking and taking and taking. And the point being is we have a lot of stuff here in our culture in America. That's why one of the number one small businesses to start, you know what? Storage units. That's like one of the number one business starters, a storage unit. Build a little storage shed, because we all have stuff. We have so much stuff, we need storage units to rent to put our stuff in it, because we have so much stuff. And so anyway, we could be impoverished material. Next one's spiritual. We could be impoverished spiritually, that there's people that walk around with no hope. They have no spiritual hope. And last but not least is relational. This one is really sweeping across Western society, is relationally broke, because it seems like the more material, more possessions, the more things we have, the more centered, easily it is for us to become more centered, focused, and more inwardly grown, and it really could cause a problem in our relationships that we really have been taught, and really, not purposely, but we take pride in being independent. We want independence, and really that goes against Christian philosophy, because we're taught to be dependent on Christ. And so while we don't want to be maybe dependent on the government and certain things of that nature, the truth is Christ calls us to depend not only on him, but on one another. That we're not in this alone. It's just not me and God versus the world. It's me, God, and my family. It's our family. We're a society and a culture, and a church is a family that has a powerful testimony about a man named Jesus. So I wanted to take a few minutes before we dove in and share with you what I think causes this relational poverty. And the first one is this: it's increased mobility. And I'm going to get to the scripture in a minute, but I want to share with you increased mobility. It says here that the average American moves once every 5 years. Once every 5 years. Me and Amanda can testify to this. And there are probably other people got amen, because I haven't met anyone yet from Virginia. Anyone from Virginia? I mean, yeah, I know. I'm sorry, Miss Alice. I know there's a few of you. But there's a lot of people that aren't from Virginia. We move once every 5 years. Matter of fact, it says if you're between the ages of 20 and 40, you move once every 3 years is the national average. It's really hard to grow a long-lasting, strong relationship when we're constantly going. Going. Moving here, moving there, moving here, moving there. And it's very hard. Another one is modern-day conveniences. And I told someone this morning, I said, I'm going to speak on air conditioning. I was reading a lecture in my class, and it was saying how the air conditioner has changed our social, the way we socialize in our culture. See, it said back in the day, before air conditioners, where would people hang out at? Front porch, outside. It was cooler outside under the porch, so typically everyone would be outside. And it was much easier to converse with your neighbors and say hi and do things because everyone was outside. But now with modern convenience of air conditioning, we don't go outside. It's hot. We come inside and we get in our, another one, it kind of shocked me, I found, was garages. It says, people used to park their cars in the driveways or out in the street, and now we have garages and garage door openers so we can open the garage and pull in it. But who uses a garage in America? That's filled with stuff. So I wasn't sure about that one. I thought that might have been given somewhere else because ours is a storage unit. It really is. But my wife says with the new house, that ain't happening. She's like, the boat, it's out of here. Find somewhere else to put it. Bikes, hanging them up. We're going to use the garage for what it's used for. But seriously, we park in the garage, so we don't need to park and wave to our neighbor anymore. We can pull right into our house, pull right into our garage, and walk right into our homes and stay put and never have to worry about socially going outside anywhere else. Another thing that's changed, that's growing more and more popular, especially like Black Friday, is guess what? Ladies can know this one. What's more popular today, especially like on Black Friday and Christmas time? What is it? Online shopping. You can get just as good as deals as going instead of standing in line for hours at the stores. You can sit in the convenience of your chair and click purchase. It's not as fun. That's a crazy statement. We'll have to debate that one during Christmas. Because I'm going to tell you right now, Black Friday, I don't know if I'd classify that as fun. But anyway, online shopping, garage doors, air conditioning, answering machines. We don't have to answer the phone anymore. Now we can let it go to the voicemail and sit back and listen to it and then decide whether or not we want to call back or just put it off till later. So all these things, the modern day convenience is causing us to be impoverished relationally. Last not least is the rise in social media. The rise in social media. And we talked about Facebook and we've all had good laughs about it, but the truth is there's an epidemic that's happening that this article, and this was like a meat that really grabbed my attention, was called a deferred loneliness. A deferred loneliness that's become an epidemic in social media. And what it means by this is people are lonely. Now, I told you last week how someone from here told me they had 700 friends on Facebook. And they said when I asked them to write down their 5 best friends, write down your 5 best friends, anyone you could call at any time, write down your 5 best friends, they said they couldn't write down one person, but yet had 700 friends on Facebook. But this is the point I'm making is this epidemic that's sweeping, this is what's happening. For example, we're feeling lonely. We're feeling maybe not so good. So we set our filters, and instead of taking a picture of our breakfast and sending it to everyone, we take a selfie. Great day, praise God, post. And then we sit back, and all of a sudden, more than likely, someone's going to hit the like button. Like it. You're so beautiful. Oh, look at you. Your hair looks great. Love your smile. We feel good. We feel good, don't we? I mean, it's a deferred, and what's happening is there shortly after, we still feel lonely and disconnected. We still feel relationally impoverished, even though we deferred it and temporarily had it satisfied. Now, I know there's some older people in here. It's like, I don't even know what this pastor's even talking about. Facebook, pictures, selfies, what is going on? It's an epidemic that's sweeping across our young kids today, that we're building relationships thumb to thumb instead of face to face, and it's really a problem. It's really a growing problem. So this morning, I want to share that in our hearts, and even our children know it, and those adults that are suffering know it. I told you the fastest growing phobia right now is phonophobia. It's actually speaking on the phone, that people would rather text than talk. These are growing phenomena that are happening as technology. Now, there's a lot of benefits. Listen, this isn't a time for bashing social media. These are just things that are happening that we have to be aware of because they're affecting us in our relationships. And it's all about relationship, not only with Christ, but with one another. So we know something's missing. And last week, we talked about someone's missing. How we could be one friend away from changing the course of our destiny. But I'd like to take it a step further today and say that we could be someone's away. That it really could be about a community. It's in the word, community. That we could really be one community away from changing the course of our destiny. And with that, I would like to share Acts 2:42. So if you have your scriptures this morning, we're going to go to Acts 2:42. And also it'll be on the screen. See, it's really about long-term relationships, but it's really about community. And there's only a few times in my life because we, just being into service, we moved a lot ever since we've been married. We married when we were both in the Corps, and then moved, and then I stayed in and moved again, and then in ministry, we were at one church for several years, and then the last church for 3. And by the way, just a few weeks ago was our 3-year mark here. 3 years, so we're excited, and we bought a house because we were so excited about 3 years that we want to stay 30. So I'm going to tell you, like I tell my wife, I said, baby, don't ever leave me, because if you do, I'm going with you, because I only like myself half the time. And so I'm here to break the news to you. You got me. We're going to grow together. We're going to grow together, and we're going to go through things, and we're going to just be a family together. And I believe so much that we decided to plant roots here for long term and buy a home and make this our home and make you family. And I want to talk about the things that I've experienced in the past that are like-minded people like us, that come together, that grow together. And there's amazing things that happen when a community of believers comes together that are like-minded with the same focus, the same purposes, and how they could grow together and how they can be a source of encouragement. And I've seen this a few times in my journey. The biggest time I ever seen this was in Pulaski. The last time the last church we were at, I didn't see it necessarily within the body of the church, but what we ended up happening is we built lifelong friends because of a tragic event. There was a tornado that hit the town and destroyed the town. And it's kind of like Genesis, where they said what the enemy used for harm will be, what the enemy intended for harm will be used for good, and the upbuilding of the kingdom is really what happened. A tornado came through and just ravished this most impoverished part of town that a lot of people didn't know exist. And all these people were broken and hurt, and our church just sat on the corner. So it was just by, it's just luck. It was by chance. God probably, I'm joking. God was in this. And he knew our hearts. And next thing you know, we started loving on people. And do you believe the church and community just came together? And there wasn't one banner put up like, United Methodist Church, loving on you, banner, table, pamphlets. There wasn't the Church of God over here with a table and pamphlets. And they had water and they had Gatorade and you had toilet paper. No one cared. Everyone just brought stuff and everyone just served. No one asked, where's this going? What's this going on? The purpose was just loving on lost, broken, hurting people in the community. And it was so beautiful. It wasn't like, well, who's going to give a report? Who's going to collect that? It was just simply what people were showing up. I'll never forget, people were showing up. What can we do? Well, we're a church of like 20 people. We don't have a food pantry. What are you doing with that room? I don't know. That's one of 40 rooms we weren't doing anything with. Can we build a pantry in there? Have at it. Man, these men got together, went out in all this wood, and man, they built a full-blown food pantry. And I kid you not, before it blinked, every shelf was plumb full. And it just happened over and over again. We're handing out food, and we had an assembly line. It was amazing. I'm telling you, it was amazing. I just sat back and was just at all over it. Really, the whole Southwest Virginia was. Every day, every news channel from Roanoke, West Virginia, Bristol was there every day CNN there every day because I'm telling you, the whole Southwest Virginia was in awe of watching this community rise up. This little, dead, impoverished, drug-ridden community suddenly came alive. It was all about loving on other people to the point where they were sacrificing, that they were giving up and bringing in and coming in. And I'm telling you, it was amazing. We had showers put up and food. And you know who helped? Watch this. This is interesting. Do you know who helped the most during this time? Bam. I don't know how you knew it. Because the people had nothing. Were there serving all day long. Man, they were there all day long. And just serve and serve and serve. And one day we ran out of bread. And a guy came up to me, I'll never forget, Sean. Sean up getting a home. Sean came, Pastor, we're out of bread. I said, okay. He said, what do you want me to do? I said, well, I guess make bags without bread. I mean, I don't have bread. He said, all right. It wasn't even 30 seconds. I think he turned around and was walking away. Another guy walked up and says, hey, there's a bread truck out front. A guy in Withville brought a whole truck of bread, and he wants to know where you want to put. Where do you want to put it? And I'm thinking, I kid you not. That's the truth of the word. And it happened just like I'm telling you. I can go on and on and on. When a community comes together that's like-minded, centered on Jesus Christ, nothing is impossible. Nothing's impossible. So let's read in Acts. This is what it says in Acts 2:42. They devoted themselves to apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to one another or anyone in need. Every day, they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes. They ate together with glad, sincere hearts. I want to share with you 3 qualities that I think that it takes to become a tight-knitted community, a family that's together. The first one is we have refrigerator rights. Refrigerator rights. See, it says in Acts 2:44, all the believers were together and had everything in common. What I mean by refrigerator rights is people can come into your home and come in. They don't knock. They just open the door. Do you have friends like that? They're so close of friends, they don't knock on your door. They just come right in your house. As a matter of fact, they're also so close of friends that they don't sit in the living room, because the living room is where we take people because it's formal and it's nice and it's proper and we don't really know you and we're building trust, but we sit there to begin this relationship. But friends, they have rights. Where do they come and sit? They come sit in the kitchen. They sit on the countertops. They sit on the counter. They go in the fridge and make a bologna sandwich without asking. They're family. They have rights. They don't have to ask. We trust. We grow together. We love one another. But you see this less and less in today's society, this type of relationship where people are so in tune together that it's family. Now, I'm not saying we don't respect people's boundaries. I don't know anyone that goes up and lays in bed or take a shower. Well, other than Darnell, but well, that's how close their family is. They're so close, he'll go up and lay down and take a nap. Praise be to God. I like that. I might try that. But it's so important that we have refrigerator rights. So important that we understand to build a trusting relationship where we can come in, where we can go into a fridge. And the question really is that we have to ask ourselves is, how many people do you know that have refrigerator rights in your home? I mean, how many people do you know that have rights to your refrigerator? Or this is another question. How many people do you have the rights for refrigerator rights? How many homes do you know that you can not necessarily knock or do a light knock and come in and say, hey, it's me, come on in, and go over and get you something to drink without asking? See, one thing I learned in ministry at the beginning, and I just didn't like it, to be honest with you. See, and I really think it's an older thing, and they teach us to keep parishioners at distances. That you can't let people get too close, because when you do, you can get hurt. That that you got to keep everyone at arm's distances. And many of you have experienced ministers that have ministries like that you can get close, but you're only getting so close. You're not in, but you're close. And see, the thing is the normal people don't understand that they got to appear that you're above them, that you're a man of righteousness, and that you're above. Do you understand what I'm saying? And what I realized is I was like one of the normal people, that sometimes I wasn't Pastor Tim, I just need to be Tim. That sometimes you got to let people in. That sometimes we just have to be transparent and share our heart for where it really is and not worry about the consequences. See, sometimes I think that we're in more danger of not having these relationships than we are if we would just let people in. And look, sometimes you're going to get hurt. Sometimes things aren't going to work. But it's okay. I think there's more danger in keeping everyone off and away and not having a relationship than it is to build relationships and doing life together. Having things in common. And see, the next thing is we all have flawed feet. It says in Romans 15:7, accept one another then, just as Christ has accepted you, in order to bring praise to God. When we accept one another, it brings praise to God. And when I talked about flawed feet is, my wife doesn't like feet. And she'll tell you real quick, these bad boys don't get near her. She doesn't like flawed feet. People are coming over, she doesn't say, hun, go put a jacket or a sweatshirt on. She goes, go put some socks on. We're going to be eating dinner. You know, when we do community, when we build relationships, we all have flawed feet. Now mine, I was being a little funny and talking about my feet here, but the truth is we all have shortcomings. We all have struggles. We all have things that we need to talk to others about. We need to be able to trust them. But what happens, and it really resonated in my heart this morning. It really resonated in my heart not really this morning, this week. By the way, just to let you know, I think it's important that you know your pastor. This week, I had a great prayer week. This week, I just had a great intimacy with God this week. This week was one of the better weeks that I've had in some time. I just was able to spend time with God in the morning and was able to read his word, and I felt like God was really close to me this week. Does that make sense? I like sharing that with you because some weeks I don't feel that. You know, that's part of being transparent. Some weeks I don't feel that as much. But this week I was reading Mark chapter 14, and it's a really beautiful story. And it's where Mary of Bethany, they're at Bethany, and they're at Simon the leper's house. And you guys know this story. It's a story where she takes the expensive alabaster, the lard, the perfume, and anoints Jesus' head and anoints his feet. And you see, you remember what happened here. The disciples, and more importantly, the one disciple was outraged. That she would take this expensive year's wages and pour it on Jesus when it could have been sold. And see, it was common that the night before Passover that the Jews, and they still do it today, practice buying gifts for one another. This money could have been used to buy gifts to give to the poor, and that's a good cause, wouldn't you agree? Have we ever took an offering and give to the poor? I mean, that's a good thing, but see, what's happening is his heart's wrong. He's missing it. And Jesus responds relatively, I think, appropriately and a little harsh. Leave her alone. Leave her alone. And he goes on to say, and this is what jumped off to me. She did what she could. She did what she could. See, so many of us are doing what we can. They really are. I really think many people have sincere, good motives, and they're trying, but they fall short. And sometimes when they fall short or we don't understand where they're coming from or don't understand what they're doing, we become quickly like Judas, say, well, why are you doing that? Why couldn't you do this? And it makes sense. Like what Judas was saying made sense. Why couldn't you sell it so we could have money? But he really had a different theme. He wanted to steal the money. But the truth is our hearts get hard and we look at other people and we don't understand what they do, but they're doing what they can in many purposes, or they're doing all what they know to do. You know, a sinner will sin. You know, Jesus was a friend of sinners. We're going somewhere. So what happens is Judas, it says, and this really got me, it says he began to look for ways to start to betray him. The Pharisees, they started looking at Jesus. And that's what happens in our heart, is when people have flaws, they have flawed feet. We begin looking at them. We begin to run through our mind all the flaws they have and all the reasons why we shouldn't. And they all might make sense, but the catch is we all have flawed feet. We all have shortcomings. Don't let them divide us. Let them unite us. That's why I told a parent one time, when I was a youth pastor, and it was a God ordained, I shared it with you, and you'll get it one of these days because this is like the 15th time I shared it in 3 years. We had a division. I caught them kissing. The daughter and a boy kissing in the corner. Caught them red-handed. You're nailed. That's a sin. No, I'm joking. I got them, and I told them that's wrong. We don't do that. And I separated them, and they were embarrassed. And I didn't get on to them for anyone. Long story short, the mom called me and said, my daughter would never do that. She would never do that. I was like, whoa. I'm telling you, she would. And she got so mad at me, she's like, we're leaving the church. We're not going to talk to you. And she was mad at me. And I thought, are you kidding me? Remember this? And I was like, this is so silly. And the Lord stepped in. And this is what he gave me to say to her, and I praise God for it. I still use it this day. I finally said to her, her name's not important, but I'm going to say it because she's, Pam, we can either let this divide us, or we can choose to allow this to grow our relationship stronger. But we get to choose. What do you think we should do? And she sat there for a minute and it got kind of quiet. She said, well, I think, I really don't want to leave. I said, I don't want you to either. I love them little rascals. She said, well, you know what, I'll talk to them. And our relationship built, and we end up becoming godparents for the family and end up becoming good friends with the family. And God used that not to divide us, but to grow us stronger together. That we all have imperfections, and that could be a division, but we get to choose. Matter of fact, there's a story in the Old Testament. About a man. It's in 2 Samuel 9:13. And it says this man lived in Jerusalem. Because he always ate at the king's table, his feet were both lame. And this is what I found out about lame feet. See, it says he ate at the Lord's table. What happens when you pull yourself up to the table? You don't see the feet. You're not lame no more. See, when we pull ourselves up to the Lord's table and ask Christ to come in, he can forgive and cleanse. When you pull up to the king's table, you do no longer have flawed feet. He can cleanse you, church. Now, we're all a little distracted with the kids coming in, but that's good enough for an amen somewhere. Okay, shoo, I'm going to pull it out of you guys. Last but not least, I want to share with you this morning is we fight lions. In reading 1 Peter, it talks about this very thing. It says this in 1 Peter 5:8, be alert and sober-minded. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion, looking for someone to devour. The enemy wants to take you out. The enemy wants to discourage you. He wants to kill, steal, and destroy you. But this is the thing about the enemy. It says he's going around roaring. He wants to intimidate you. He wants to hurt you. He wants to discourage you. But it tells us to put on the armor of God. You guys remember the armor of God? It's talk about the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the sword, the word of the truth, the shield. You know, it goes through the whole body of armor. But you know where the body of armor never really talks about? There's nothing on the backside. We're meant to stand firm. We're meant to stand firm. And we're meant to stand together, dependent on one another. So when the enemy comes to attempt to kill or steal or destroy or discourage or whisper lies into brothers and sisters' ears, we could be standing there and say, no, you don't. No, you don't. That is a lie from the enemy himself. The truth is God so loved you that he gave his son. The truth is that we can bring all our worries and heavy ladens and we can lay them down and we can take a yoke up that's light and easy, that we could take on Jesus Christ, that we don't have to go through this journey alone. Jesus didn't come and do it alone. Why do you think you could? Jesus didn't have fellowship outside. Why do you think you can get away with it? We need to be together. It's about community, unity in the community. And that's what we see in Acts 2. That was one of the greatest moments of the church. Coming together, feeding one another, fellowshipping one another. And this is they grew and grew and grew. There's something that's magnetic when two or three gather. Matter of fact, Jesus said when two or three gather, I'm in his presence. So I'm really starting to think that his presence means something, huh? And when we come together, his presences are here, and we're all about him, all about him, all about him. That suddenly becomes magnetic, because it says in Scripture, if we lift him up, what does it say will happen? If we lift Jesus up, everyone's more interested in the kids. I'm talking about Jesus up here. We'll watch him. I ain't trying to be cute. Trying to share some truth. When we lift up Jesus Christ, it tells us very clearly that he will draw all men among him. That we don't have to give fancy messages or look a certain way or do all these creative things. Why? They're all beautiful. The truth is, if we allow Christ to reign in our hearts and have the ultimate throne, and we yield our life to him and live a life of obedience, it says as we lift him at the first place of our heart, that people will notice that there's something different. And it says they'll thirst for righteousness. They'll thirst. They'll want to know why. And so this morning, church, I want to close with asking you, is there anyone in here that thirsts? Is there anyone here that thirsts for this righteousness, that thirsts for this unity, that thirsts for this community? Is anyone here? I mean, there's not many of us that experience this. I mean, some of this sounds kind of foreign. Some of you, this might even hit a wrong way, like, wait a minute, refrigerator rights, walking to my house while knocking, that's coming against a lot of things, Pastor. And I'm not saying we don't respect people's privacy. And I'm just waiting for one of you to come walking in my house this week. But be careful, I do have a... Make sure you have bologna with you. That'll disarm me. And make sure I have socks on. That'll disarm you. I'm telling you, it's about coming together. Because I bet you, I look around. I bet you your family, I bet you when you go home, you might knock lightly, but you go in. Your family. I bet you when you're at your mom and dad's or a friend or families, you just go to the fridge and get you a drink, don't you? You just make yourself at home because it's home, your family. You trust one another. It's a community. Church, God wants the same for us. He wants the like-minded people, be obedient, come together. And that's the friends me and Amanda are looking for. I want to build friends here that are refrigerator right friends. I want friends that can come to my house and not to counsel Pastor Tim, but to sit on the counter and just talk with Tim. And have a relationship where we understand we have flawed feet, and we're not going to judge one another for our shortcomings, but we're going to love and encourage one another and point that there's hope, and we're going to point each other to Christ every time. We're going to be there for one another. And we're going to fight lions together. We're going to be like this water buffalo I was going to show you this morning, but there was children in here, and they said that would be true dramatic. I didn't think about you little guys that show these water buffaloes. And you can go put water buffalo hunted by lions. Man, it's powerful. And there's these lions, and they're prowling around, and they corner this little baby buffalo, water buffalo. Man, they grab her. And they jump on her. And they jump on it. And man, it looks like it's all over for this little dude. And I was like, oh no. And next thing you know what come running over the hill? Mama nothing. That was a herd. Man, there's like 100 water buffalo come running. And I thought, what are they going to do? These are lions. Shoot. Man, water buffalo are no joke. They picked one of the lions up, and I guarantee threw it 20 feet in the air. They chased them off. That little one got up and was still good and ran back in the herd. They were chasing the lions. I thought if water buffalo can beat lions and chase them, so can't we. Amen. We can fight lions together. Amen? Amen. Well, this morning,